Well, we are live from Las Vegas. I'm Diego Sanchez, president of HousingWire, and I'm joined today by Praveen Chandramohan of CoreLogic. Praveen, it's so great to talk with you today.
Likewise, Diego. I'm so happy to be here. I love the content that HousingWire is producing in bringing a lot of the exciting innovations to the industry and bringing visibility to that. So love that.
Love that. So before we dive in, could you briefly introduce yourself and also your role at CoreLogic?
Yeah, so I've been with CoreLogic for about 10 years. And what I do now is I run a business that is focused more on leading origination solutions. So with a focused effort on how do you help customers retain and grow their business. So we'll talk a lot about that today. But I also lead an originations fulfillment business that's focused around verifying and qualifying a borrower, which we've done some segments before that when we spoke about previously.
Mortgage has been a challenging industry for the last couple of years, but maybe we're starting to percolate a little bit. So what mortgage industry challenges are you and your team focused on right now?
So when we talk to a lot of our customers, and we do business with a lot of the top mortgage originator lenders and lenders across the spectrum, two themes emerge. One is, how do you use technology to drive down the cost of the loan? And second, how do I retain and grow my business? So everyone's looking for top-line growth these days. Some of the industry stats are pretty glaring when you think about the mortgage industry. There's retention rates in general hover around the 9 to 11% range.
Crazy stat.
Which if you think about it, is unheard of when you compare to other industries. There's some recent stats around borrowers don't go back to their originating loan officers for repeat business. They only do that for about 18% of the time.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, it's disheartening because cost of acquiring a customer is in the thousands, cost of retaining a customer is in the hundreds.
Right.
So why wouldn't you want to retain your existing customers? And then there's also things about how do I sort of grow my customer base? What do I need to do in getting a better network out there, depending on the model that you do business with.
So let's dive in on that growth aspect of what you're working on. How do you help clients with that really kind of dismal retention and recapture rate?
Yeah, so CoreLogic is uniquely positioned to do a lot of things. So if you think about the background of CoreLogic, it is, at its DNA, at its core, it is a data and analytics company. And what we do is, the vast amount of data sets that we have. So if you think about 22,000 counties that we have various forms of data acquisitions from. We're a company that grew via acquisitions, so bringing in a lot of the Property 360 data underneath, bringing in household analytics, it just puts us in a position where if you have coverage of all of the 150 million households in the US, and you can provide data and insights about the household to the customers, then they're able to then use that information to drive more retention. So largely speaking, I would say the industry approach to retention has been a three-pronged approach. Some do all three really well. Some sort of vary in that spectrum. The first is all about customer segmentation. And in the banking world, KYC, know your customer, is a very popular term, which in the mortgage industry is translating to relationship-based lending. And the way to do that is really know your customer by creating the right customer segments. And that's where sort of CoreLogic shines, right? We're able to marry property intelligence and household intelligence through all of the 200 different analytical models that we have, 50 years of historical data that we have, billions of records that we have around property. We're able to create a customer segmentation framework for our clients that then they can use to understand. And ideally, you'd want to get to customer segment of size 1, right? Where every interaction with your customer is personalized for that customer and that customer only. So that's sort of the first approach. The second is really reacting to what I would call events that happen. So very popular in the industry is credit triggers.
Yep.
The second is MLS triggers. And off late, we've introduced a brand new technology around location triggers. And using all of these, you're sort of reacting to what your customer is doing.
So location like maybe open house triggers.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so what happens here is you're not only solving for reaching the right audience, but you're solving for reaching the right audience at the right time, right? Which is timing is very important. And the third is probably, I would say, from a cost and retention perspective, the most effective, which is play the long term, which is how do you create a customer engagement platform where you engage with your customers and you really create a flywheel for a customer for life, which is sort of the holy grail that everyone wants, right? How do I create a customer for life framework? So that's the retention framework. And then when you think about growth, it's all about how do I create my buy box and how do I expand my customer base? And customers do this in a variety of ways. One is through understanding what the segment that you want to gain more business and having various marketing techniques to go reach to them. The second is really through an indirect growth, which is recruiting the right loan officers.
Sure.
If you're in a distributed retail model, having the right network connections and expanding your realtor network and so on and so forth. So that's sort of where we see the industry is going, and CoreLogic is uniquely positioned to help that.
So a lot of different opportunities for retention, recapture, growth. But if I'm an LO or a branch manager or production leader, do I have to go to like 100 different places at CoreLogic to get access to those products?
Great.
Or is it kind of unified in one place?
Yeah, no, great question. So we've been working really hard behind the scenes to invest in a platform called Araya, which we're building it as a one-stop shop to access all of these solutions. And so we launched Araya last summer, and there's a ton of productized versions of a lot of the solutions that we just discussed in a way that's consumable for the customer with just one click. So things like market intelligence, where you can understand everything about the market, decide what loan officers, look at the performance, look at the recruiting history, understand what realtors to connect to. All of that is packaged in a ready-to-use format within market intelligence. When you think about precision marketing, it's all about how do I use that location intelligence to then understand what are my household behaviors so I can reach out to the customers when they need it the most. Things like lost leads and payoff analysis, where you understand where your customers that you did not end up doing business with, where did they go, so you can start to sharpen your competitive edge. Things like property intelligence, where you really position your loan officers and even in underwriting, your processing team to spend less time researching things about the property, but through a click of a button, get everything that you need about a property characteristics, their propensity scores, their AVMs, their lead information, everything that you need all in one place. So we're really, really excited about where Araya is going.
Yeah.
And specifically for the retention segment, making that a one-stop shop for loan officers or originators to come in and access that data.
So if I'm an individual LO, do I have to go to my lender, the company that I work for, and get them to buy enterprise access to Araya, or are there individual subscriptions available? How do people access?
Araya, the way we think about Araya is the goal is to meet the customer where they want. So if you think about a spectrum of users, so you have individual loan officers, mortgage brokers that really want to sort of think about their growth, which then translates to their company's growth, depending on the channel they operate on. We've created an e-commerce model where you could go in, put in your credit card, subscribe to the product, and you would get full access to all of the tools in Araya. For lenders that want a little bit more enterprise model, but don't necessarily want to go through the motions of creating these large analytics layers themselves, we create user interfaces and bring this data either in Araya, or we can integrate to the CRM of your choice and bring the data over there. And so you really get the power of all of these data from the Araya platform, but we try to meet you where you really need the data so you don't have to alter your workflow to do that. Third, which is very unique to CoreLogic, is we also make this data available in a lot of these cloud marketplaces. And a lot of the larger and more technology-savvy lenders have started to invest in these massive data lake environments that then makes this data available from an enterprise perspective. So we have native cloud integrations to Snowflake, Databricks, Google, Salesforce, any of these larger cloud platforms that you can think of, where this data is available in your fingertips. And then you can start to execute campaigns, customer reach outs, recruiting loan officers, networking with realtors, all of that in one place.
This is a big deal innovation. I love a unified dashboard, so this is very exciting. What's on the product roadmap for Araya in 2025?
Great question. So Araya is growing and growing rapidly. What I'm most excited about that's coming up is a product called One Homeowner. One Homeowner is all about, when we talked about retention, we talked about homeowner engagement. How do you create a customer for life value proposition? So One Homeowner is all about positioning the lender to create their own personalized brand experience, but helping customers where they need the help the most, which is home ownership. If you think about some of the stats, about 4 million customers transact today or every year in terms of purchasing a new home, but about 85 million don't.
Right.
So how do you create an experience where you're not just transacting with the 4 million that are in market, but you're helping the 85 million that are not in market today? And One Homeowner is all about that. So I'm not going to give any spoilers in terms of the features and functions, so we'll hold on to some of the cool features that One Homeowner has. But the big problem that it is trying to solve is keeping homeowner at the center, which then creates a value proposition where a mortgage lender creates a consistent brand experience for the homeowner to make them live without sort of worrying about a lot of the things that bother a first-time homeowner around home management, building wealth, the framework around what do I do when something breaks in my home. We try to solve all of that. And from a mortgage lender perspective, it unlocks that customer for life value chain, and then it's a great flywheel for the lender to be at.
That sounds really interesting. Maybe we'll have a future conversation
Yes.
where we can talk more about that product.
Yes. I'm really excited about where Araya is going and how we can unlock all of the retention and growth needs for our clients.
Well, Praveen, this has been a really interesting conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Diego, thank you so much. Look forward to having more conversations on Araya in the near future.